G'day, Chief. Let's talk about beating overwhelm. Look, this is potentially my favourite topic, my pet topic, because I think it is potentially the most underrated, most misunderstood issue in the modern world, not just the business world, but the world at large. Overwhelm is just having or taking an incredible toll on people all over the planet. And I'm certain that the main reason we've got these spiking levels of incredible mental health issues and suicide rates, that this is one of the reasons that is happening. Before I dive into talking about what it is, I want to tell you a bit of a story, because this story in many ways led me down this path towards what I do now as a coach. I would say it would be about 10 years ago. I just started being a coach, an executive or a performance coach. And at that time I was trying to work mainly in elite sport and with top end of town. And what I noticed is one day was an old friend of mine. He was good 5-10 years older than I was. We were meeting for a beer in downtown Brisbane, and I was sitting in the pub, sitting out on the road as you do there, just on the side of the road with a beer in hand, waiting for him to come. And then I saw him come over the street, and I'll never forget it, because I could look across the street and I could see that the weight of the world was on his shoulders. Like, he was just drained. You could see it. And man, he came over, he sat down, he just slumped into his chair, and he just couldn't wait to have that beer. He was just exhausted, burnt out. He'd had enough. And when I got talking to him, I just said, "What's going on, mate?" He goes, "It is just so busy, mate. I'm go to woe from when I get up in the morning to the end of the day. I'm just at full tilt. There's not a break. I've just got so many things to do. I don't know what to do with myself." He goes, "I've got no time to spend good quality time with my family. My health and fitness is going out the window. I feel stressed. Like my relationships are suffering. I don't feel like I'm getting in front of the game at work. Like I'm just running on the treadmill, but I'm also on this conveyor belt where my life is just flying by." And I thought, wow, he's not the first person that mentioned that to me, or described it in similar terms. In my research then, as I was learning more and more about human psychology and human high performance, this is where I came across this understanding of what our brains are capable of. And in fact, there was a study done all the way back in the 60s and 70s, I think it was, where they discovered that the brain can really only manage between 5 and 9 things at any given point in time. Now, what does that mean? In real terms, what it means is the brain is a bit like RAM in a computer. If you run too many programs, it starts to slow down. It loses its effectiveness. It runs really well just doing one program at a time. You run too many, it slows down, and in fact, eventually it might even crash. So this is the thing. Overwhelm, what we need to understand is, how do we use the instrumentation or the computer system we have been given to the best of our ability? Now, what's going on in the modern world is our lives are different now. There's a million things more to do than maybe our ancestors or our forebears ever had to deal with. Let me explain that in a bit more detail. Now, you've got, I think the attention span of the average human being is dropping to somewhere around about 5 to 10 seconds. We're evolving towards goldfish. Why is that? It's the amount of information being sent to us. There is something in the vicinity of 1,000 to 3,000 messages being sent to our brains every single day. It never stops. It's like we're just pouring information all day, every day. But on top of that, we've got so many commitments at work and at home, so many projects. Every company I talk to now is going through transformation. Now, they have to, because that's what's going on in the corporate world now, or any world, is that the demands of customers, the demands of employees, they're all changing. But what that means for us as professionals is that as people in the business world, we have to learn to deal with transformation and complex change. Changing a big company isn't easy. It takes a lot of people on the same page, changing a lot of things over a significant period of time. It's complex. And now you can see that if we're operating in this world where there's constant information, lots of moving parts, heaps of commitments, what happens is overwhelm. And let me tell you what happens what are the consequences of overwhelm? Because this is, to me, the saddest part, is when your brain goes into overwhelm, cortisol, the stress hormone, gets released in your head, and that goes down into your body. And now that means an increase in heart rate, higher blood pressure. You start to feel stress. Your attention span goes from potentially long-term strategic thinking into short-termism. Relationships suffer. You get a temper, like a shorter fuse than you probably ever had before. Your creativity goes out the window because you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to exist every day and keep your head above water. Now, here's the thing. Not everyone I meet is like that. And in fact, most people I meet go through periods of their life where they're overwhelmed and other periods of their life when they're fine. As human beings, we tend to be able to go through that, pop out, and then drop into it. Now, sometimes we never get out of it, and we can go 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, we pop our head up and go, what the hell just happened? A year's just gone. How did that happen? Now, the thing is, what I try to work out is what were those people doing who were able to manage complexity and stay in control and calm and composed all the time? Because these were the people that I met that I just thought, wow, you know what? You're the only person in this place that looks like they're thriving. Everyone else looks like they're suffering. And this is the interesting thing. From a career perspective, if you look like you're overwhelmed and overloaded, you look like you've gone as far as you're capable of going. Everyone's looking at you now and going, that person, they're so busy, they're really struggling in their current job, they can't go any further. That's truly what people assume. Okay? The thing is, you might be well and truly capable of going another step or two further if only you managed overwhelm and complexity just a little bit better and learnt to use the nut a little bit smarter. So, beating overwhelm, I want to just teach you a few things so you can manage that. Okay? What I'm going to do now is just go through a couple of different videos and talk you through them. But now you know what overwhelm is. It is something that costs a huge number of people a massive part of their lives. It can affect relationships, the quality of your income, even where you spend your money, the relationship you've got with your kids, if you've got them, even your parents, your brothers and sisters and your best friends. You probably never see them anymore. This is why this is such a pet topic of mine. Okay, now you understand overwhelm. I'll go through these other videos and I'll teach you how do you manage overwhelm, because you know what? I'm never overwhelmed. And it's because I use these systems.